Weeks ago, we appointed one to the full-time police force, so we welcome you to the town of Dover and look forward to seeing you around town, and hope you like it as much as we do. Thank you so much.
And may I just add,
You certainly may.
I think anyone who can be poised in the face of the traffic around here, outstanding.
Thank you so much. It was pretty bad.
Thank you.
And our next, while I have the floor,
Right.
I'd also like to recommend the appointment of a part-time animal control officer, or the part-time animal control officer, not a. Danielle Estrella comes to us from the town of Needham. She has over 10 years' experience as an animal control officer. She's going to be replacing Elaine Yoke, who's retired, and Elaine has had probably 12 or 15 years of experience, and I think Danielle's going to step right in and pick up where Elaine left off and keep everything under control. We hope that she's going to be able to start October 3rd after all of the, again, usual stipulations.
Okay.
And I have the great pleasure, Danielle, you and I have met in the past, yes, at Bridge Hill, with my corgi, exactly, and so
Yes.
it's a pleasure to welcome you.
I'm very excited.
Ms. McKenna, I hope you don't have to accuse yourself.
Oh, you certainly haven't met my Australian Shepherd. I can't say the same for you.
I'll bring tennis balls, it's all right.
Keep him occupied. So then I would like to appoint Danielle Estrella as the part-time animal control officer for the town of Dover.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
Thank
you.
Yes,
Welcome.
welcome.
So I hope you don't have to rescue my dog.
I'll just bring it right home, it's all right.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Your dog? No, it's nice to see you. Well, yeah, because you and I passed all of that last night.
exactly.
You're so sweet.
And we both also have puppies, so we're so pleased to have you. I recognized you the second I sat down, I thought, how good.
I can't wait, it's so perfect.
Yeah, it's a
I can't wait to see all the horses and the farms in town.
It's great.
So, thank you, Liz. It was so nice to see you again. Nice to see you.
I'll see you soon. Bye, it was nice meeting you.
Excuse me.
Would you like to move up? We don't bite. There are front row seats available.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Just.
Now then, since there's no agenda rolling, the next item on our agenda is we have the town clerk here, Felicia Hoffman, who's been working really hard this year so far. And she is here to talk about potential early opening of the November 2016 election polls.
Yes, I am. Because we expect a very large turnout on the presidential election, I would like to ask the board to consider opening at 6 a.m. to alleviate some of the commuter traffic and try to help us speed things along. We generally have between 88 and 90% turnout for a presidential, so the more prepared we can be, it would be great.
Really? That
Yeah.
high? Amazing.
And I've been waiting in line for the 7 a.m. polls to open.
I'm
so
not
I
promising
certainly-
no line,
Right, but I certainly support that.
I'd like to champion this phone, I'm sorry. Oh, you did, I'm sitting on it. No.
This is not a naturalist.
No, please, sorry. No.
I certainly, for one, support anything that might alleviate the morning rush through the town of Dover. So I commend you for coming to us and
Well, thank you.
suggesting that we open earlier. I know other towns do, and I will certainly take advantage of it. Do you have any?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I thank you for the effort.
So then I am going to make a very self-serving motion to agree to have the polls on November 20, at the November 2016 elections open at 6 a.m.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's going to
you.
be an early morning.
Yes, it will.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Alicia, good night.
Good night. Next on the agenda is budget season starting, I guess. And so we have before us the highway and the police department's capital budget request to review. Mr. Ramsey?
And the selectors.
And the selectmen. Okay.
To start with, your documents should have the town, the selectmen's capital budget first.
That's correct.
And sort of, we can go quickly through the items for fiscal 18, but having seen these budgets for many years, you'll note that the significant changes are in the later years. We've basically taken the boiler plant at the Carroll Community Center and moved it from fiscal 18 to 2019 in light of the recently issued report by the consultant regarding handicapped accessibility, and are proposing to roll those all into one project in 2019. We've also moved out to fiscal 2022, the re-roofing of the townhouse based on recommendations of our consultant, needs to be its condition. So back to 2018, what we've done is take what was proposed as 2019 last year and moved it up to 2018 to sort of spread the burden of the expenses. So taking them from the top, the first item, which is a new item, is an energy audit lighting update for $86,000. And this is a result of a recent audit that was done in connection with the Green Communities Initiative. And the $86,000 covers all the town buildings but for the Carroll Community Center. And the payback on that in terms of energy savings is remarkable. So we thought it wise to include it here. There's possibilities for grant monies that could offset that going forward, but this is, as you know, the appropriation side of the ledger. The next item is item number 5 is the protective agency's building exterior painting. And that's what it says it is, repainting the outside of the protective agency's building. The fire station overhead door openers is replacing 8 of the 10 openers that are now obsolete and cannot be maintained because parts cannot be painted. The air conditioning for the blue room over at Carroll was another item in that year requested by the COA. The replacement of the wheelchair lift in the townhouse for $50,000. Again, the lift out here is seldom used, it's required, it's obsolete, we can't get parts for it anymore. Again, at the Carroll Community Center, the expansion and paving of the parking in the backyard for $25,000 was requested by CMAC a number of years ago. And then last but not least is painting the exterior of the White Road building, which, as you take a look at it, is in need of a paint job. So that's Selectmen's capital budget recommendations.
So I have some questions.
Sure.
So the green communities, we should be able to get an initial grant. And, you know, we're expecting that grant to be somewhere, saying somewhere around 125,000 to 150. Can we specify this lighting project as one of the items that we want to use that grant for?
We could.
So then that's something at capital budgets, because I do have the entire audit and the consultant that did the lighting audit, and unfortunately I didn't bring that with me, also provided with, I guess, best guesses of what the incentives may be. So
And this is net of the incentive.
Oh, so that was my other question. Okay, so this is net. So we probably want to show what the gross to net
We
is.
certainly can do that.
Right. And I also have, which I will supply to capital budgets, but I think maybe Warren would like to see it. We do have the report with all of the projects that were identified, the savings, the calculations of what the savings may be, and then the best estimate of what the grants would be. So I can forward that to you. I have it electronically. If you, Kate, perhaps you could disseminate it.
Yeah, just
Okay.
great, thank you.
And then as far as the community center, the paving of the parking lot, I just want to make sure, and I'm sure this is the case, I know with the Chickering School, they weren't going to be folded into the Tarvia program, and so we were able to save substantial funds by including them in that there. So I'm assuming that this is part of the Highways Department's program.
This
and
takes
that
advantage
cost,
of this
right, that
contract.
cost reflect, because it was a huge savings for us on the Chickering School
Right.
side of
great.
things. Right. I'm assuming the wheelchair lift is the one that sits right outside. I've never seen it being used, but this is,
2 or 3 times, but it's a handicapped accessibility requirement.
right.
And we're having trouble maintaining it.
Okay, so it's a requirement, all
Yes.
right,
I
right.
mean, you can obviously postpone anything, but if it breaks and we can't fix it, then we're not compliant.
Well, you're carrying people up and down the stairs, it's a new job description. It was a joke, I know you can't do that. And, all right. So those are my questions. I know we have talked a lot about the Carroll Community Center, about the report that we got illustrating what the additional costs would be to bring it up to handicap accessibility, and by doing these 3 projects together, it would trigger that. So as we discussed, we would push it out a year, but begin to work with the various committees on what information we have available right now, whether or not they need some additional information. So I do support that. I just wanted to say that one of my concerns was, will the boilers at the Carroll School survive another winter? And we believe, well, there are 2 boilers, as you explained to me, and they're redundant systems, so we're not expecting both of them to, yeah.
Right.
All right,
Yes, that makes sense.
all right, so, okay. Do you have any questions?
No, excellent.
All right.
The next one, and this may be the first in my time in Dover, is the highway capital budget, and no items are being requested. And as Mr. Hughes explains in his narrative, he dutifully considers equipment replacement and plugs it in, but as he gets closer to the actual funding year, he looks very specifically at the vehicles and says, I really don't need to replace this now. So then he makes adjustments, and the result in fiscal 18 is he's not requesting anything.
Okay. And I know the capital budget, they always have this conversation with him, asking him if he feels there's another truck he should move up. So I assume he's thought about all that, and he's really comfortable with.
Very comfortable.
All right. Because what has happened now is by moving Carroll out, we now have
An expensive
an
year.
expensive year in 2019.
Yes. And then last but certainly not least is the police department capital budget. And again, it's all out-of-year items whose time has now arrived. The 2 cruisers in 2018 for $73,000. An upgrade to the department's computer server, $14,000. And replacing his 5 defibrillators for $19,000. And as he explains in his memo, the tasers are only warranted for 5 years and should be replaced. Obviously, pieces of equipment that when you need to use them, they need to work.
And it looks like he's expecting trade-in of both vehicles of about $15,000.
The dealers must be breaking the deal as far as how he now goes out and auctions his equipment, because he's gotten better prices, not only for his own department, for other departments as well, way beyond what trade-ins were in the past.
Right. And again, being the liaison to capital, sitting on the capital budgets, we last year had a lot of conversation about whether or not we're replacing the police cars too early, what is the right number of hours on the engines, how they monitor that, and they actually, it's not a guesstimate at all. They're actually readers within the vehicles, and we did a little field trip. I think you were with me.
I was, it was a very cold morning.
Yes, it was an extremely cold morning in February, so, it was really helpful. And again, unfortunately, I know for everybody in all the departments, you're constantly, every year, there's a new member asking a question that one of the old members has asked already. So, we do appreciate your patience because, we can't always bring the new members up to speed quickly. So. And it's good for them to hear from, not just from other members of the committee, how things are tracked. All right. So do you have any questions?
No, it's excellent. And I think construction has begun at Grossman Camp, I believe, with the tower.
Yes.
I think I
They were going to delay to steer away from the summer season.
Right.
I think they're now ready to do that job.
Right. I saw some activity, so I was thinking that was probably what was happening.
You're very observant. I drive by there all the time, never notice a thing.
I'm afraid to go in there because they get lost.
Well, Eric Arnold has offered tours. He's the director of Herald's of Camp. So the next item on the agenda is an update on 46 Springdale. And what I wanted to talk about was not that any decisions have been made, but just some nuances within the process that we're going to follow. I plan to be in contact with each chair of the departments that met a few months ago, which was the Board of Health, Open Space, the Warrant Committee, Concom, and Planning Board. And I'm going to ask that each chair designate a member to what I'm calling a working group. And what it will happen is that member will receive emails and notifications as to when any of the 5 committees that I mentioned is going to be meeting and discussing Springdale. And I would like that person to be responsible to report back to their committee. And what I'm trying to avoid is setting up another committee just for the sake of having a committee, but at the same time make sure that everybody is aware of discussions that are going to happen with respect to information that we need in order to make or basically have all our ducks in a row by town meeting. And at some point, we will hold a meeting of this working group, and anybody is invited. From our perspective, I will make sure that anytime we are notified that a board is going to be discussing 46 Springdale, it will be in other business, and we will just let everybody in the community listening to our meeting know that those discussions are being held. And it's my hope that by doing this, more people will be aware and we will get information out about the process, because I thought the meeting that we had, the working group meeting with the chairs, was a great way. I think all committees are on the same page with respect to how we need to move forward, but we're all aware that we all have work to do. Like, for instance, I believe that you mentioned in the meeting that, we need to think about the
You have 2 existing antique cesspools.
Right, and we need to...
And both of them have failed. So you're at risk at this point of having to drop a 127B on them and cease use of them altogether at this point, never mind renting them.
Right, so those are things that I'm confident the Board of Health will be discussing, and we will make sure that we're all on the same page and each committee knows what the other is doing. And if at any time any of the chairs feel, or their committee members feel, that they're not getting the information that they want, I would ask that the chair of that committee contact me and let me know so that we can coordinate dissemination of the
The
information.
impact of this is continue, if you rent as one of the discussions, then we're looking at an ongoing maintenance cost of repetitive pumping.
Right. No, and all valid, and that's why that meeting was, eye-opening, so. The next item on the agenda is an update on the status of legal documents regarding the solar array on Powesset. And just as background information, at town meeting in connection with the green communities, we designated the transfer station as an area which was pre-zoned, so to speak, for a solar array. Right after town meeting, we were approached by Hale Reservation, and they had already selected a vendor, State Capital, to work with them to put in place a solar array on our landfill. What Blue Wave wanted to make sure they could do was qualify for the subsidies that they knew were available. And in order to qualify for those subsidies, which makes their business model work, they needed to have their application in place by the 26th of September, which is Monday. And what needed to happen was as a town, we needed to work with Blue Wave, Hale, and the DEP. And what I am pleased to let everybody know tonight is that DEP provided the town with verbal confirmation of the closure of the official closure of our landfill, and also verbal confirmation that they would provide Blue Wave by tomorrow with permits so that they can apply for the subsidies. This does not mean that all paperwork and all contracts in connection with this project have been finalized. What it does do is it allows Blue Wave to get their application in so that they can qualify for the subsidies. What we are still working on with Blue Wave is the license agreement between Blue Wave, Dover, and Hale, and that's about the ongoing monitoring of the landfill with solar arrays in place. Makes it a little tricky, and we do have some other agreements that we are working with Blue Wave on. Our hope is to get those fully executed in 4 to 6 weeks, I think. We had a good call with Blue Wave, Mr. Ramsey and myself, and town council and Blue Wave's council, and we all understand what the open issues are, and we're working towards closure.
At the recycling committee, most recent, the discussion on that went to the possibility of tying in a commitment of Blu-ray to, at a future date, install panels on the current or replaced roof of the dumping area, which would generate electricity for use there, as well as presumably surplus electricity to resell. So it's clearly not the time to do it now, because of course there's all sorts of discussions about what that roof is going to be. But now is the time to tie in a commitment on their part.
So we could certainly talk to them about that. Our major focus right now is to try and, get...
I understand, but it's really a negotiating position right now, where there is leverage right now.
Mr. Ramsey?
I would caution, though, that it's really late, and the Blue Wave arrangement is with Hale.
I understand.
And that any subsequent arrangement to do work for Dover would have to look at the procedures required for that to take place. So I don't think, this is the first time hearing this, first reaction, I don't think we can make that link timely with everything else we have to do.
All I'm suggesting is discussion with them, not committee.
No, okay, I misheard you.
Yeah, we can certainly raise that.
Right, absolutely raise that. So, it's very exciting for the town of Dover, but we're not there yet. We're almost there. The next item is at our last meeting, the personnel board was here. They made a presentation on a recommendation for the general increase for non-union employees. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, they, They went through a presentation, refreshing us on the process, and we had some good discussion, and their recommendation was a 2.5% increase. We told, at that time, we had communicated to the personnel board that we were comfortable with that increase. However, we weren't going to vote on it. We were waiting for warrant committee's vote because of timing. They were meeting after us, and I understand that the warrant committee did approve the 2.5%.
Yes, we did.
And so, thank you. And so what I would like to now do is make a motion to approve the 2.5% general increase for employees for fiscal year 2018. I got that right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. All right. Oh, all right. Next on the agenda is it seems so early. It's only the first day of fall, and we're looking at the calendar for 2017. Which one of you?
Just in time.
Just in time.
Right, because the first due date is in October. So this is the fiscal year 17 calendar, which lists all of the key events and the dates for those events. That would include opening and closing of the town meeting warrant, the dates that the town meeting warrant and election warrant are mailed, the warrant committee's open hearing, and other similar kinds of events. With the board's approval this evening, this calendar will be distributed to the warrant committee, the capital budget committee, the moderator, town clerk, and the schools, etc., so that everybody's on the same page and has this calendar to work from in order to do their planning.
And I would love to hope that we don't have several special town meetings thrown in the midst of all of that.
Not as much as
This all looks so nice and straightforward and doable.
It
And
does, yes.
I think, yes, it sounds wonderful.
Yes, nothing looming on the horizon at this time, so.
Yeah.
Good news.
All right, so do you need us to approve this? Okay, so then I will make a motion to approve fiscal year 2017 calendar as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll leave you a copy. Thank you. Oh, no, you probably have it memorized by now. You're up again. The next item is the license agreement
Yes.
between the town of Dover and the Center for Development of Children.
Yes, and this is the last of the town's license agreements with the tenants over at the community center and also our tenant at Whiting Road. So Mr. Ramsey actually met with the representative of the CDC several times to discuss an increase, and ultimately what was agreed upon was if the board was willing to execute 2 consecutive year contracts, the CDC would agree to a 1.5% increase over the FY16 amount for fiscal year 17 and 2.5% in the subsequent year. All of the other terms and conditions are substantially the same.
And this is in line with the other renewals, other than it being 2 years?
It's 2 years and it's slightly different.
Okay.
We had tried to keep the percentages the same, but the facts are different for each model, so they're slightly different.
Okay. And they occupy almost 6,000 square feet of space in the...
They are
The anchor tenant.
Right.
That's right. And we generate the largest revenues from this tenant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful space with the access to the outside. I mean, it's just, it's ideal.
And I think they do provide a service to citizens of Dover. Well, I know it was very considerate. So I appreciate it. So I would make a motion to execute the 2-year lease for the Center for the Development of Children, or CDC, in the Carroll Community Center. The lease for fiscal year 17 will increase 1.5% over fiscal 16, and the lease for fiscal year 16 will be increased by 2.5% over fiscal year 17.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're working on really quick at this. So the next item is to execute a new license for alcoholic beverages for the retail package store. I think it was probably 2 months ago where the new owners came in and talked to us about their purchase of the package store and their experience as owners of package stores. And I think the police chief was here as well. The police chief had done
He
something.
vetted it.
He vetted it. One of you?
So it's a three-step process. After the board had approved the transfer of the license, listening to the police chief's recommendation and hearing from the prospective owners, the whole application was forwarded on to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission for their review, which was extensive, and they have approved it. And now the third and final step is just execution of the actual license itself for the new owners. And that would only be through the end of the calendar year. In November, we will come back. Every November, any vendors who have annual liquor licenses have to make new application to the Board of Selectmen. So they'll come back for 2017 in November, along with the Legion.
Okay.
So this would just be
So it's just a 6 weeks trial period.
That's right.
Seems like a lot of work.
Right.
So did we vote on it before, or did we need to vote on it?
You voted on the transfer, now you just have to vote to execute the transferred license for the remainder of
Calendar.
2016. That's
Do you have any questions?
No, but I'm interested in the hours. Do you see at the bottom, it's very specific. 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday and Friday. And noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Interesting.
I know those hours have been the same for years. The only change was when the blue laws changed
Right.
and package stores were allowed to sell on Sundays, that was added.
Right.
But I believe for a number of years it's been the same.
Good to know.
All right, so then
Excellent.
I make a motion that we approve the license for alcoholic beverages for the new owners of the wine store in Dover, RWJ Beverage Company, Mass. LLC. And this license is for the remainder of calendar year 2016.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I ask, do you have any knowledge of whether or not they will continue to practice the preceding owner of occasionally serving food?
No, they did not.
They will not?
They did not
didn't
discuss that.
Didn't address it.
I was not aware that they served.
The predecessor organization would have wine tastings and would typically have both cut cheese and cold cuts. So hence they were serving food.
No, this only addresses the alcohol.
Well, we'll need to know.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is appointments, and I believe we don't have any this evening. So We are now in our other business action, and we have a reserve fund transfer for the engagement letter that we approved last meeting. Mr. Anthony?
As you know, Madam Chair, we only budget in the accounting office the dollars to hire the auditors to do the general audit. The last 2 years, we've had this additional work for student activity funds, audit activity, and we haven't provided those monies in the budget. So this is again a request, second year for $3,500 to pay for these services. In the fiscal 18 operating budget, we will fold this in.
Okay,
Right.
excellent.
And that makes sense, because I think after discussions with the town accountant, they really don't have the bandwidth to perform this work. Do we just acknowledge this or vote on it?
It's voted.
All right, so then I'll make a motion to accept a request for a reserve fund transfer for $3,500 for the accounting department. This money is to be used for a state mandated review of the student activity fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I'm pleased to say the wedding season is abating somewhat this evening. As far as special licenses go, we only had 4. And I will read those and then we can approve them all together. So there's a request for a special license on September the 21st. So this is retroactive?
Yes.
Okay, retroactive license for a funeral reception at Elm Bank, and it was signed off by Chief McGowan. We then have a request for a license on October the 13th for a fundraiser for the VNA at Elm Bank. We also have on October the 22nd, at the Carroll Community Center, the Diwali Social Party. And then on October the 30th, the day before Halloween, there's a birthday party also at the community center. All of these special licenses have been signed off by Chief McGowan. So I will make a motion to approve the 4 licenses as described in my previous rant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then although this is not on our agenda, Ms. McCann, we're signing this. We're signing. We can't multitask.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you have 4 of them.
4.
And lastly, Ms. McCann, perhaps you could just talk a little, provide the town with an update on Minuteman. We did have a special election on Tuesday.
We did. And I want to thank the townspeople for coming out in spite of the fact that it was an election that was sort of tucked in between many of the other elections going on. Here was a special calling for people to come out. We had 325 people, I believe, who came and voted. The townspeople in Dover voted 375, that's right. The townspeople in Dover voted essentially 3-2 in support of the building project, and it's a very fine vote for this town to support. When the town has voted in the past, this year, to go ahead and stay in the Minuteman district, then it gave people the opportunity to support the building project, which has been in the works for, I believe, something like 7 years, getting it to this point. The district did vote, the Minuteman district voted in support of the building project, 12,000 to 5,000. And so The one town, I believe, that voted not to support the building project was Belmont, and it remains to be seen what they're going to do as next steps. But thank you to everyone in Dover for having come out and supported the Minuteman building project and continued to support the district and our involvement with the district. Thank you.
And I would just like to say a special thank you to Ford Spalding. He really was not only a cheerleader, but made sure that we always had the correct facts. And, he was out there from noon until 8 p.m. Very, very committed, and, Minuteman was lucky to have him, and so are we. He did supply us with, he was able to help us get answers to any questions that were answered.
And I think helped other towns as well.
That's right.
He was traveling around from town to town to town over the last 6 weeks.
Candace, you should recognize him as being the chair of the rebuilding committee.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has taken this as his cause for this 7-year period of time. So not only is he our representative to Minuteman, but he is the one who has sort of fathered in this entire project. So now his hat changes a little bit from planning to building.
So Mr. Spalding, if you're watching tonight, I'm sure you're resting. Thank you for everything, for your support and guidance through this process.
And always being at the other end of the phone with questions, just wonderful access.
I completely agree. And also, we had wonderful special town council to help us through this as well. Citizens' comments.
Just a quick, back to the reserve fund transfer. The audit of the student activities fund was done last year, and it's doing this year. Is it an annual requirement? And is there any consideration of going forward to put it in to estimate for next year's budget instead of doing, is that part of the planning process?
We're going to fold it into the fiscal year.
Okay,
So we won't be doing this every year, because we're going to be doing the work.
Well, we're going to, yeah, exactly, thank you.
And we were, we thought, since last year was the first year, we thought, and there were some changes going on in the accounting department, we thought they would have the bandwidth this year to do it. But
yeah, I realized last year was the first time so it was reserve fund, and then this year. So,
No, that's an excellent point.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, so Mr. Clark?
I would just want to bring to your attention, I know I have circulated to all of you the calendar that the Board of Health is looking at with regard to certain new regulations in terms of solid waste. The October 17th meeting, which is strangely enough after this coming Monday, the next meeting because of various holidays, will be in all likelihood the day when we discuss, and unless something comes up negatively, we'll probably vote on regulations that will put us in compliance with current state law and current DEP regulations, of which we are not currently in compliance, relative to the hauling of solid waste through the town, whether it stops here or not, and also with regard to dumpsters. I am going to propose to the chairman that that be a widely publicized open meeting in case there are any vendors who want to speak up. But as I say, it is bringing the town into compliance with what is currently required.
Any connection with that, the draft regulations are currently being reviewed by the town council with the strict instructions to validate and be able to cite, the Mass General Law requirement of the sign.
I've tried in all cases and communications to be extremely explicit in the citations of both Mass General laws and Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations, and I wrote him, or her now, specifically an opinion that I expect I'll get concurrence in on that, yes.
So we do appreciate, the work you have done, you and the rest of the Board of Health, as well as the Dover Recycling Committee, and I know the two, and the highway, you know, Mr. Hughes has been really involved in this. And again, it can't just be one of us making decisions, you know, we do need to constantly...
Well, again, what we're talking about on the 17th is the scope dealing with commercial haulers, such as Waste Management, such as Dover Trucking, but others who travel through the town, as well as dumpsters, whether they be related to construction and a building permit, or even if they're not. Walter Avalone, as I mentioned in an email, and I have been working on what we think is a workable process that doesn't expand anybody's scope of work, which will result in a clean way to process applications for dumpsters, such that if he knows of a requirement, we will know and we will issue it. If we know of one, we will issue it, but alert him. And again, in both cases, the existing enabling legislation and regulations vest all of this in the Board of Health.
And your meeting is at 7 p.m.?
Our meetings are at 7 p.m.,
And
correct?
you will be in the lower conference?
I assume we'll be in
Okay, so if you're interested, viewers, you know, the Board of Health will be discussing the regulations in connection with solid waste disposal.
Well, specifically commercial hauling and specifically dumpsters.
And dumpsters,
Limit the
right.
scope.
October 17th.
As David made,
7
to
p.m.
me, you're limiting the scope.
All right, so thank you. So I think I would like to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.